Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Bolden. This is another Black Conservative. Thank you all for joining me. What I want to talk about today is something that before I even read this article that I'm about to read to you right now, I think is clearly a mockery in so many different ways. Once again, the left, because they lack any sense of right or wrong or any sense of morality, and they scream about equality and fairness to everyone, they actually come off as mocking. And what I'm talking about is, I believe, Mattel, the company that creates the Barbie dolls and so forth, has created its first Barbie doll with Down syndrome. You heard that right. Its first Barbie doll with Down syndrome. Now, someone may hear that and say, okay, well, what's the problem here? What's the mockery here? Well, I'm about to get into this article, and then you can decide for yourself. Now, I'm going to say this before I read this article, that to some extent, I can understand the attempt of people in the particular organization to try to create some type of a doll that young people and people in general who have Down syndrome can relate to. Okay. But what I believe is going on here is there's something else deeper going on here, and it's Marxism all in this. It's Marxism 101, right in the middle. Right in the midst of Marxism 101. I see it. You deal with this stuff long enough, you'll see Marxism at the drop of a hat. So let's get right into this article. And it states Mattel debuted its first ever Barbie doll to have Down syndrome as part of its Barbie fashionistas collection, whatever the heck that means, a line of dolls focused on representation. Wow. Mattel announced that the doll, which has features typically seen in people with Down syndrome, I'm just reading you, just getting your mind what this is all about, came in partnership with the National Down Syndrome Society, NDSS. I never knew anything about that, which describes itself as, quote, the leading human rights organization for all individuals with Down syndrome. So right then and there, the whole so-called the leading human rights organization for all individuals with Down syndrome, you can argue, okay, they have this organization to help people with Down syndrome to have better representation, to get them in positions where they would normally not be in had they not had this problem. But what I'm seeing here is a organization financed by liberals in order to keep division going. But I'm not going to get too farther into that. I'm going to elaborate on it a little further as I get into this article. It goes on to say, Kayla McKeon, a spokesperson for NDSS, told Good Morning America that they wanted the doll to, quote, showcase the ability of somebody with Down syndrome. Showcase the ability of somebody with Down syndrome. You wanted the doll to showcase the ability of somebody with Down syndrome. First of all, how can it be? It's a baby doll. So how could the baby doll be showcasing the ability of someone with Down syndrome? What you gonna do with it? Twist it around and make it? I'm trying to show you a point. What do these people even be saying when the left is goofy? I'm sorry, the left. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. The left is goofy. They goofy. Only someone from the left would do something like this. They goofy. Showcase the ability of somebody with Down syndrome. How in the heck is a doll going to showcase any kind of ability? Never mind the fact that the children have these individuals have Down syndrome. Let's get rid of that. What kind of ability, a showcasing of ability that any doll for that matter, Barbie doll for that matter, would be showcasing? Forget about the Down syndrome. Okay, a regular doll with no Down syndrome or whatever. What kind of ability would it be showcasing? It's a doll. Anyway, when I was talking to Barbie about her design, I thought it is incredible, and it's definitely going to be a bestseller today, McKeon said. I cannot wait to see my friends and my peers have a doll that looks just like me. Wait a minute, let me get this right. When I was talking to Barbie about her design, when you was talking to Barbie about her design, I'm going to assume that this person is talking about someone who has a name called Barbie that's in the real world, not a freaking baby doll. Whatever. I'm not baby doll, but doll. You get what I'm saying. This is ridiculous. Candy Pickard, president and CEO of the NDSS, likewise told GMA that the Down syndrome community has, quote, been asking for a Barbie with Down syndrome, and Mattel listened, and we feel represented in our community. I don't believe that. I don't believe the average person with Down syndrome in this country was petitioning Mattel to make a doll that looks like them. I don't believe that. I believe that there are people that this organization pays that may have Down syndrome that represent that particular era. It's basically activist groups, rather. Activists who are part of this organization, who this organization pays to say, hey, we really want dolls to represent us. But the average person with that disease, the brain disease, is not asking for that. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. They need to quit with that. A lot of these activist groups out here, regardless of what area they're in, do not represent the vast majority of people in this country. They just don't. Because if they did, more people would be in support of it. People are worried about their own situations and problems and circumstances. They're not worried about all of these type of little nitpicky things that people are. They're not worried about that. But the liberal establishment, the Marxist liberal establishment, whose intent is to cause division, they are. What they want is division. They want everybody divided into their little groups. But let's go on. It's easy to control you that way. Whether you have Down syndrome, you know somebody with Down syndrome, or this is the first time you've heard of Down syndrome, this Barbie is for you, said Pickard. And they have a picture of a little girl with Down syndrome holding the doll, and they hold the doll up, and the doll has that expression on its face. Now, I know that may sound like, man, come on, kind of humorous, but you get the point. Why would you do? Anyway, let's go on. I'll give you my full commentary. As Breitbart News reported last year, the Barbie fashion line also includes dolls with, quote, hearing aids, one with a prosthetic leg, as well as a Ken doll with the skin condition vitiligo, Vitiligo. I don't know how to pronounce that, but you guys, if you know how to pronounce that or know what that means, whatever. But apparently, it's a Ken doll with that skin condition. So you're going to create a Ken doll with that. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When it's, man, that our country is going in another direction when you start creating dolls that represent people's deficiencies. I'm not talking about a racial ethnicity. I'm talking about people's deficiencies or shortcomings. And it's not, and I'm gonna get into the detail of that about Down syndrome and all these other type of things like hearing aids and so forth. I'll get into that. But I feel we're going downhill when we do that. I feel that this is intentional. Okay. It says the fashion line begins including dolls featuring disabilities in 2019 when the company introduced several Barbies in wheelchairs, noted the report. Barbies in wheelchairs. I didn't know anything about this. The line began including dolls with several skin tones, hairstyles, and even heights to represent a more diverse line of body types and the like. The line initially included 8 body types, 35 skin tones, and 94 hairstyles. Okay. And but here's the part that I find that's quite disturbing. Down syndrome children have been increasingly aborted in the womb over the past decade in both Europe and the United States. In 2006, Denmark had just 4 babies born with Down syndrome. In Iceland, abortion of babies with Down syndrome has reached nearly 100%. France also banned a television commercial featuring children with Down syndrome because it upset mothers who previously aborted such children. Some states have stepped up efforts to protect them, such as Ohio, which of course is my home state, which passed Ohio Rights to Life's Down Syndrome Non-Discrimination Act in 2017. So that's a good thing. Okay. In 2018, Gerber selected his first ever baby with Down syndrome as a winner of his annual Gerber, quote, Spokes Baby contest. And that's the end of that article right there. But let me just say it right up front. First and foremost, This is in no way mocking anyone with the Down syndrome or anyone with a disability or what we would consider to be a disability. This is in no way mocking them. I'm not into that. I'm not into that outside of these videos. I'm not into that making these videos. What I want to point out is something that I believe is going on, and I believe that this is a Marxist attempt, or that Mattel has been infiltrated or influenced by Marxist ideology, the oppressed and the oppressor. In this instance, the oppressed is those with Down syndrome and those with these deficiencies. They are oppressed by a society that doesn't want to have anything to do with them. Okay, they are oppressed, they're rejected, they're down, they're put down, they're mocked, they're made fun of. Okay, and so they are the oppressed. Okay, these are the oppressed. The oppressors are the people like you and I who don't have these deficiencies, but we reject people that have these deficiencies. We don't want to talk with them. We put them down. We make fun of them. We make jokes about them, that type of thing. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is a clear push of Marxism. Okay, whether Mattel realizes it or not, I see Marxism here. And I see that what this is doing is keeping people further and further divided. That's what I see going on here. Now, let me talk about this whole idea of these baby dolls representing different ethnic groups. Now, I can understand baby dolls representing different ethnic groups because at one point in America's history, when the baby dolls were first introduced, they were mostly Caucasian or white baby dolls. Okay. And I remember my mom. My mother, God bless her soul, the Lord blessed her to see 82 years, April the 6th. And she's very healthy and moving around. I thank God for her. She has this beautiful little house that she has, beautiful little apartment rather. And in her apartment, she has all of these, like on her sofa and stuff, she has all of these stuffed animals, large and small, and Barbie dolls. Like, I kid you not, Barbie dolls, beautiful little Barbie dolls positioned and sitting on the top of the area of the sofa. And I'm like, man, when I go in there, I just be looking around. We having conversations. I could barely get into the conversation with her because I'm looking around, looking on the sofa, looking at all the Barbie dolls and stuffed animals. And I recall her telling me one day as we were sitting and eating dinner that she used to be so, how can I put it? I won't say hurt, but felt kind of funny having a Barbie doll that didn't represent her racial ethnicity. So she was glad when they started making Barbie dolls that represented black people. So of course they started making Barbie dolls that are black. That was a long time ago. Okay, I can understand that concept. I understand that. I do, but that's not a deficiency. Those are not disabilities. Okay, they're not disabilities. A disability hinders you, or rather limits you from doing everything that you would want to do. Okay. Now, mind you, if you have a disability, that doesn't mean you shouldn't push and strive. And just hear me out on this, please. This is what I think. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't push and strive to be the best that you could be in everything and put forth. There are people that have disabilities, or what we consider to be disabilities, do more than people that don't have any disabilities. Most people out here right now seem like their disability is up here in their brain. They got all their physical faculties, but they don't have nothing up here. And it ain't that they have a brain disease, they just have an empty brain, you know. But a lot of people with deficiencies, actual deficiencies like Down syndrome, or being paralyzed, or having no legs or no arms or whatever, they have to capitalize on certain abilities that they have. And they have to capitalize on that to make the best out of what they already have. You understand what I'm saying? You know, people like when they say you're blind, you may lose one particular ability, but it tends to heighten all your other sense. Or you may lose one sense. Let me rephrase that. You may lose one sense, but it tends to heighten the other senses. Okay, but still, no matter what the case may be, if you are blind, and even though the other senses are heightened, you still are at a disadvantage. No matter how heightened the other senses are, you're still at a disadvantage. And what's my point, you may be asking? My point simply is this. I feel that this is a Marxist move to keep all the people divided. Okay? That I don't think it's a good idea, in my view, to create dolls that represent weaknesses and deficiencies. I think that the idea is to encourage people, the common person, common male and female, to encourage people who may have these deficiencies, who may have these disabilities, whether they be brain deficiencies or physical deficiencies or disabilities, to encourage them to do the best they can do, to strive, to not limit themselves, to use what they do have to the best of their abilities. Okay, I know that to be true because I have a friend of mine that his wife is an intense supporter of wheelchair basketball players, and she posts on Facebook quite often these basketball players that are in wheelchairs, but these guys are like dynamite. They're rolling around on wheelchairs hooping. I mean, you know, of course they're not jumping up, but they putting the ball into the hoop. They doing their thing. They're doing what they could do. Now, of course, they wouldn't be able to do the same thing as someone who has all their limbs, but clearly they're taking what they do have and making the best out of it. Okay. But when you do something like make a doll with a wheelchair, what you actually doing the way I see it, in a wheelchair, what you're actually doing the way I see it, is you in an indirect way, because this is how the left is. Okay. They're so twisted because they don't understand, they don't believe right and wrong. They're just so twisted. What you're actually doing is encouraging deficiencies. The idea is to overcome deficiencies, not encourage them. When you make dolls that are an expression of that deficiency, what you're actually doing in an indirect way, the way I see it, is you're encouraging that deficiency. You're not helping that person. You're basically in an indirect way encouraging that person to say, hey, you know what? Stay in this position. Even if there is ways that you can change your position and be a better person and change your position, forget about all that. You have a baby, you have a doll that represents you being in a wheelchair. You have a doll that supposedly represents you having Down syndrome and looks like you. You have a doll that has all these skin tones or has, you know, whatever. Is that what we need? And in terms of profit and making money off of these kind of dolls, I wonder what kind of money they're going to make off of it. Well, the article didn't say that they were making any money off of it, whatever. Maybe they're making money off. I don't know. Maybe they're making a lot of money. I don't know. It didn't say anything about that. But I just think that the idea is not the best idea. In summing up, in closing this video, I think the best idea, as I said, is to encourage people with their disabilities to be all they can be. Be like Ray Charles, okay? Ray Charles clearly was blind. Stevie Wonder clearly blind, but look at these guys. Some of the greatest musicians that ever existed in American history. Because they took what they could use and they built upon it. They were limited. Because they were blind, there were certain things they couldn't do, period, bottom line. There were certain things they couldn't do because they were blind. But they did not allow their blindness to stop them from being some of the greatest musical artists in American history. The same principle here. You may have Down syndrome, you may be crippled or whatever, but take what you do have, what abilities you do have, and capitalize off of that. And don't limit yourself to just your own your deficiency. But know this, that of course you're going to be limited in certain things. That's why it's called a disability. But to end this video on this, to create dolls that represent that's not representation. You're representing something that's keeping these people, that's going to in an indirect way keep these people in the state of mind that they're in. The left like to put stuff in people's brains to make them think they're oppressed and they're not oppressed. But that's what I had to say about that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.